My name is Zoughbi Zoughbi. You can call me by either name. It seems my father ran out of names after having 8 children. I am from Bethlehem. Was born in 1963 for a family that has been living in the same area for many years. And our church history says we have been 1600, and oral history since the time when Christ was born. I don't know how much I should trust this narrative. But when I come here, many times people ask, since when you are a Christian? And my kids will tell me, please, Dad, tell them that my great-great-mother was the babysitter of Jesus. Having said that, as much we are blessed to be in the place where our Lord Jesus Christ was born, a lot of difficulties, challenges, problems, and the recent events are showing the ruthlessness, the tyranny of the power to be. The Christians there, were forming the overwhelming majority in many centuries, starting from the 4th century till almost the 15th century. And then the decline of Christians became more as a result of the Ottoman occupation to our country. We have 400 years of Ottoman occupation. Before that, since the time of Christ up till today, we have 33 types of occupation. You cannot believe it. Colonial power after colonial power. Control the land, the resources, divide and conquer. And nowadays, we are under the Israeli occupation. The Israeli occupation who would like to see us out of the country, to be kicked, because the Zionist movement was telling all that Palestine is a land without people, and the Jews are a people without land. Why not to bring the Jews to fill in the land? But that was one of the myths. We have been living there. Many people were living there. And as a Palestinian, I am a Jebusite or Canaanite. If you look at the Bible, you hear this. And others are Moabite and different people in different parts of Palestine. I don't know where is this theory. And we are passing now to you the maps to see part of that, and also to have a vision while I am talking about, because it's very important to see this map. And I don't want to go back in history to every event, but to say, and here's more, yeah. So this is, if we look at that portion where it says Israel, was our historic land called Palestine. Palestine as a historic piece of land. So the Israeli founded this in 1948. And of course, after long issues, there was a partition plan to give Jews 52% of the historic land, while they didn't compose more than 6% of the people at that time. and then the rest of the Palestinians to have 45%. From that beginning, you can say, wow, what injustice is that? Anyhow, to make the longest story short, Israel was not satisfied with 52% of the land. They occupy more. And it become like this area without the orange, and composes more than 77.7% of the Holy Land of Palestine, historic Palestine. And there were lots of tragedies for us. In 48, we have 600 villages were leveled by Jewish groups, by Israeli later on. Because this land was not called Israel, except in 1948. And there were 750,000 Palestinian refugee camps. 750,000 refugees were kicked out from historic land. And some of them live in refugee camps in Bethlehem area, in the West Bank, Gaza, East Jerusalem, Lebanon, and you can see where is Lebanon here, you see, and Syria, and Jordan, as well as Egypt. 59 refugee camps. The bulk of the Palestinians live in Jordan, you know, whereas you can see the word Ammon and other places. And what happened? From 48 up till this moment, no single day of rest or peace. 70% of the population in Gaza, the little area here, were kicked out from the land called Israel. 70%. And now, before October 7, there were 2.5 million Palestinians living in that area. And this is where you get in the news. 90% of the houses were destroyed. Not good living conditions at all. 41,000 people were killed. 70% of them are women and children. Hospitals were destroyed. No healthy, clean water. Electricity is cut off. There were at least 15,000 students so far killed. 500 schools were destroyed. Universities were erased. All of that on the pretext that Hamas is made or is there or made the October 7 attack on Israel. It is genocide. Some people here and there say, please refrain from using this. And I feel that we need to tell the truth. You know the truth, and the truth liberate you. At the same time, bear in your mind, I am not here to demonize Israel or demonize the Jews. I'm talking about the human rights violation. I'm talking about the injustices, the oppression that my people live. I respect Jews, and I hope the bulk of the Jewish community, whether in the States or in Israel, will say to Netanyahu and his group, enough is enough. Because yes, they started genocide in Gaza, and now there is a slow genocide in the West Bank. They start in the north of the West Bank, where we have 20 refugee camps in the whole the West Bank. And what happened in the camps and other towns in the north is terribly, and doesn't tell us there is a future to live and continue to live there. And there are lots of people killed also in the West Bank. They are not satisfied with the attack on the West Bank. Now they attack Lebanon. The Israeli attack Lebanon. That doesn't mean we are angels, we haven't used violence, or we didn't resist it. No. They attack Lebanon, and many casualties, many deaths, and many people buried under the rubble. So I am afraid what is going on will lead to a regional war in that area. And now I think 2 big ships moved to to Israel and to the Mediterranean, American ships, and there are already 40,000 American troops, and I don't know the other 2 ships, how many American soldiers are there. And they say they are there to protect Israel. And this is very painful to hear that. Because every year, Israel receiving $3.717 billion from United States, unconditionally. And in the last 11, 12 months that we live in, some people, researchers say, Israel received $40 billion from the States. Whether I need to check this number. Some researcher mentioned it to me, but I need to check it in order to be more objective. In terms of money, in terms of military equipment. And Israel has been seller of arms. And they tell the world, look, these arms are working. We tested them on Palestinians. Anyhow, I'm saying that to say, yes, we need to work together to alleviate the suffering of the people. And, my wife is American. She is a Hoosier. Don't take it against me. She has another story. She is not allowed to live with me. So far, we have been married 34 years. I will tell you more about her story. But she told me, I'm not aware, and I don't know if my tax money is used to attack my children. Thank God I have 4 children. They have here. And my wife left Bethlehem because she is not allowed to stay and live there before I came to the States. And she is with her mom now in Lansing, Michigan. So how to move from this deadlock to a better look? I don't want to continue to live in this terrible situation. I don't want to take revenge. I would like to see peace and coexistence. I like to see that we have arms of dialogue replace dialogue of arms. And we hope one day, as a result of what is going on, which is a disaster, a genocide, that the prefix that used against us as Palestinians when we come here, either terrorists or extremists or fundamentalists, to be erased. Because there is, how can you say these people are terrorists and at the same time they pay heavy price for the killing, for the ethnic cleansing, for the apartheid, for the genocide? Second, I hope that the term anti-Semitism and self-hating Jew to be replaced with something else. Because if you criticize the occupation, you are called anti-Semitic. Even though we are Semites. And to be anti-Semitic, you are anti-justice. And also the term self-hating Jew, because there are Jewish voices for peace, and I salute them, and they give me hope, they point the finger at them, self-hating Jew. And both terms that are used now as self-hating Jew and anti-Semitic to silence people's criticism to the oppression, to the occupation. It is time to find a way to deal with that, and also to look at the situation with open eyes. The Palestinians are a people of 14 million. Half of them live in historic Palestine, including Israel. 2 million live in Israel proper, or I don't know what is proper, because up till this moment, there are no boundaries for the state of Israel. There is no constitution, and still they are fighting among themselves whether Israel is a Jewish state or state for Jews. So 2 million living inside, having the Israeli passport. Then we have another 2.5 million in the Gaza Strip, the most densely populated area. And then we have the rest in the West Bank. In the West Bank, there are more settlers. The idea is Israel would like to Judaize even the West Bank. Gaza is for them, they use the term, we want to end Hamas, the terrorism of Hamas. But of course, they are interested in two things. The gas on the coast of Gaza, which is much more than the gas all over the Mediterranean. The second, they want to link the Red Sea, to the Mediterranean in order to have alternative route of Suez Canal to channel gas and business and trade to Europe, which will make a lot of benefits to Israel, and of course not having the business with Egypt. But the West Bank is more important than Gaza, because we have the most right-wing Israeli government. And the other two persons who are influential and create pressure on Netanyahu, Smotrich and Beni Gafir, believe not only that they need to have a state and secure in that area, but West Bank is the most important part for the biblical claim, and they don't use anymore the term West Bank, they use Judea and Samaria. So it is the time to look at things with open minds, with more objective approach, and to listen to objective news. Because they think, this is their land, and God has promised it to them, as if God is a tribal God, real estate agent God. I don't believe in that God. For me, God is more inclusive, more loving, more embracing. And, whether we are Jews, Muslims, Christians, Druze, Baha'i, we are created in the image of God. And anyone skilled is diminishing our humanity. But those guys would like to see Jewish state all over. And for them, we should be slaves. We should be helping, working for them in sweatshops, do the dirty work they don't work, and to have this kind of supremacy against us. Where to go? Israel say to the West Bankers, whether through main channels or through different channels, Jordan is your kingdom. Jordan is your state. And people in Gaza, they want them to go to Sinai or Egypt. And this, there will be any more Palestinians. So we need to emphasize that this land is for all. Gone the time of wishful thinking. Yes, every group would like to have the claim over all the historic land, but now there is a different reality. And I don't think with the power that Netanyahu has, with all the weapons he has, with all the sophisticated weapons that the United States is sending him every time, that he will can get rid of the 14 million. He might kill most of us, he might get rid of all of us, he might destroy all of our houses and make our life difficult and then to leave. But at the end, there are other Palestinians all over the world. And they are doing it by building more settlements in the West Bank. And you know what does mean settlement? Illegal buildings in a town on our land, which is against humanitarian law, which is against international law, which is against the principle of 242 and 338, the UN resolutions. But Israel is not interested. So they have almost 1 million settlers in the West Bank. And those settlers have special roads, very nice, paved and maintained. They have weapons, they are armed from toe to head. They have tax-free things, long-term loans, water 24 hours, where most of the water comes from the aquifers in the West Bank. 80 to 90% come, and we pay 3 times as they pay. They have it running 24 hours, while the water comes to our tanks once every 3 weeks, every 2 weeks, every month. It depends where we are. And they have green loans. Green loans. And also they can control more of the land of the West Bank. 70% of the land in the West Bank is under the Israeli control. And 60% is considered Area C. And this is according to Oslo Accords. We don't have the time to explain Area A, B, C. And I'm glad that we are not so smart to learn A, B, C. Otherwise, they divide us on D, E, F and fragment more the land. They fight against us in economy. We are considered for them either a cheap market, captive market, cheap labor, and garbage dump. Whatever they don't want in Israel, they used to sell it to find ways to our area. Good number of workers were there before October 7, and they sell us their goods. And they try to find conditions to kick us out. I give you an example personal. My wife and I married in 1990. And since 1990, we are not allowed to live together. I finished my degree in Notre Dame, University of Indiana. So I got a degree, a wife, and a work in Jerusalem as a result. But in 1990, got married. And we hope to have our home in Bethlehem. So the first few years, Israel give my wife visa every 3 months. She can fly to Tel Aviv, 3 months visa, you pay for it, and they renew it for 4 times a year. And then you need to leave after 4 times. Go abroad. Could be going to Jordan, going to Egypt, going anywhere, but this is also, when we talk about occupation, is profitable, makes a lot of money. It continued like that. When Oslo happened, 1995, I was happy that I might have family unification. I applied for family unification. And every time say, come tomorrow, and tomorrow never comes. We continue like that. Sometimes they allow her 3 months, sometimes 6 months, sometimes a year. But every 3 months, you need to pay fees for that. Well, it is costly, but we managed. 2018, one of my sons wanted to get married. So my wife was in America in order to prepare herself to come back after, a few months here, renew the visa. She took the flight from Chicago to Tel Aviv. In Tel Aviv, look at her, say, you are not allowed to be in. Why? Say, you have a file. So they send her back in the airplane. Don't see her, don't accept talking. We tried to call the American consulate, American embassy, and the answer said, we don't interfere in Israeli politics. Israel is a sacred cow, you don't touch it. She went there. We have been planning the wedding for my son in 3 weeks from the moment she was kicked out. She tried to come through Jordan, and they say, no, you cannot. Through the bridge between Amman and Palestine and the West Bank. Many of her family members arrived for the wedding. Her mother, the minister of her church, friends, but my wife is not. What shall I do? Yes, I thought of contingency plan to have the wedding where in Jordan, but already the people are in Bethlehem. And how can I move good number of them as well as good number of my family? Israeli human rights interfered. Even an article in Haaretz wrote about it. Haaretz is one of the main Israeli newspaper, which is really good piece of information. I encourage you to look at Haaretz. And then one of the high-level priests, Catholic Church, was able to reach an agreement with them. And he came to me and said that the Israeli came through the group called Kugat. There are 5 conditions. If your wife and you accept it, we let her in. One is to pay $20,000, at that time 70,000 shekels, as a guarantee that she will leave in 3 months. Second, she's not allowed to drive a yellow license car, because there are many licensed colors there for cars. The West Bank has a different, Gaza has a different, East Jerusalem and Israel has yellow license, and any American visit the land can drive a yellow license. The third one, not allowed to work. Fourth, not allowed to go to Jerusalem or Israel. Fifth, she is only having 3 days when she receives the okay, and if you pay the money, to leave United States to be in Jordan. I talked with my wife, analyzed the situation, and then we agreed that we don't want to pay the money because she is coming to live in my home, not in Israel, in the home that she was building with me for the family, which is a humble home, in the neighborhood, in the heart of my family land. We told them, sorry, we cannot pay it. And even the priest was saying, why should you pay it? Anyhow, the Israeli response, take it or leave it. And almost approaching 6 days, I collected the money, borrowed from here and there, and sent and paid it through the bank transfer. And luckily, my niece was the director of that bank. It was late, and the banks closed at 2 o'clock. So we sent the money. I sent her the receipt through WhatsApp, and she went to the bridge to go. And at the bridge said, no, you cannot enter because you didn't pay the money. She said, here it is. I said, no, it didn't reach the finance ministry or the treasury. She called me, and the bank was almost closed. Thank heavens my niece asked for the permission to get the information. Where did the money goes, through what channel, how did it reach to them? So she copied me these. I sent it. I'm laughing at this moment, but we were trembling, we were stressful. My wife have lots of tears. To go back, their wedding, life. And after many wheeling and dealing and many tears, the guy said, I'm sorry, it is there, but we are not informed. The Ministry of Finance didn't tell the Minister of Defense, the Ministry of Interior. There were 4 or 5 groups involved in her entrance, and as American, that doesn't mean they should discriminate against others. We paid it. She came, and in 3 months she should leave. We have a wedding. 3 days before the wedding, I was able to distribute the invitations, and there were 400 people in that wedding. Many were angry because I didn't invite them or forget them. In 3 months, she left, because and the money should be back for us when she leaves. The money is still in their budget, in their, deposit. And after 3 months, she began applying to come to the land. In a year, they responded, she came back. And now she is in the States, and she will apply. We don't know when they will allow her to be there, 3 months, 6 months, 1 year. Because of that, I had 2 happy occasions here where we were able to be under one umbrella. My daughter vowed marriage renewal because she had the marriage in Bethlehem and it was under COVID. She would like to have some kind of reception, supper, festivity with others. The second, my son got married here, but with a small number, because we don't know when my wife will be allowed in. And he said, Dad, I will have the wedding at home, but when the Israel will allow. This is just example of how we live. And they want us to leave. They are what is happening in Gaza, in the West Bank. They would like to have greater Israel. And that's really the situation. Probably I should stop here and to hear and to have a dialogue or to ask the questions that you want to ask. But when I am here, I am renewing my hope. My batteries are recharged to see such a beloved community with your hospitality, with your care, with your agape. You are giving me food for the thought, for the resistance in a non-violent way. And in order to get out of this deadlock, we need 3 dimensions of the struggle. The Palestinians to continue their struggle non-violently to get rid of being under occupation. The pro-peace camp in Israel to have preventive approach of non-violence to help their government get rid of being the occupier. Third, people like you, the churches, faith communities, secular people, UN, states, to empower the weak and to bring the strong to their senses and not to their knees. To bring the strong to their senses. I'm not interested in punitive justice. I'm interested in restorative justice, to redress the wrongs. And there will be no future there if we don't have collective responsibility, restorative justice, transformation, and of course, acknowledgement of what happened, and to ask for forgiveness, and to start on reparation. These are like dreams. With the power to be, it seems impossible because power corrupts, absolute power corrupts absolutely. And lack of power also corrupts. So this is the situation. But I'm glad some of you have been to the Middle East and the Holy Land to see these things. We don't want to indoctrinate people to be anti-Israeli. We want to be pro-justice for all. You know, not like the terrible English that I learned when I say just us. No, justice for all. Justice for all. And my daughter taught me more about pro-justice. What does it mean? Restorative justice. And here I complete, otherwise I continue. We were under curfew many times. And my friend who is in Jerusalem, Israeli, who teaches peace studies at the Hebrew University, called to see how am I. And of course, under curfew. And he asked this friend, he asked my daughter who responded, where is your dad? She said he is in the streets cleaning and organizing things because for 40-day blanket curfew, you need to do something. And he said, how is the situation? She said, you know, look, the water tanks are empty. Bullets pierce them. Electricity is knocked off. The tanks, while they are going around and besieging the Church of Nativity, knocked them down, they don't have electricity. All the food in the refrigerator, which was frozen, you know, not healthy. No fresh fruits, no. She kept saying all of that. And poor guy, to listen to all of that. And he said, sorry. And my daughter said, sorry is not enough. I need chocolate. For her, this is restorative justice. What does mean restorative justice? For us, I like to invite you to come to the Holy Land to see and to have first-hand knowledge of the situation. Saint Jerome, who's also 1 block away from where I live, was in a room translating the Bible. He said there are 5 Gospels in the New Testament, including the New Testament. 4, you know them, Matthew, John, Luke, and Mark. I didn't say it, you know. And the 5th, when you visit the land and meet the people. I'm not a theologian. I ask for forgiveness rather than permission. You are the 6th Gospel. You help me to understand my faith, to go deep in my faith. So please come and see, observe, reflect, and act. You are all welcome to Bethlehem. There is room in the inn. Thank you. Yes.
Thank you so much for bringing us Bethlehem now and what is happening. So we so appreciate your words. Can you talk about how difficult it is to be a place of peace and, you know, in the midst of all this, and also what your center that is doing such important work, a little bit about what you're doing in the midst of all this, the center.
Thank you. Yes, our office is next to the wall. Exactly. And also the wall has taken almost 1/4 of our property. We do a lot of work. One of them is mediation in our society, to really find ways to transform the conflict in non-violent way. And it is between the people that we live. We are living in a pressure cooker, and there is a lot of displacement of anger there. There is a lot of stress, and conflicts erupt. It is a good season for conflict. So we solve conflicts between people. There is no one day without conflicts that we resolve. And even while I'm here, people call through WhatsApp and try to be engaged with me. Thanks heavens, I have staff and I have volunteers. And when we solve conflict, the conflicts became part of the case studies that we train young people. We train women and we train children. I studied peace studies, and after that different topics, from the interdisciplinary approach. So we use the interdisciplinary approach. Lectures, seminars, conferences, workshops. We work with the youth. The youth has been in a terrible situation. 1/3 of the male population have been in jail. And this is before October 7. Now is more. There is no single day I wouldn't hear the jeeps around my home, searching, getting to imprison people. And the things that you have for granted here, we die for it. There is a theft of spontaneity. You cannot just grab the passport and go and travel. To have visa, you should go to Jerusalem, Tel Aviv, or Amman, or Cairo. It depends where they go. And we don't want the young people to be aggressive, but to be assertive about their rights. So we work with them, and through exchange program. We work with children. Children really are affected more, and women. Children have trauma more than others. All of us are traumatized. And you can see it in children: bedwetting, nightmares, sleepwalk, bad achievement school, eating disorder. So we try to provide them with safe area to ventilate, to air out, to create heaven for them. Because we don't have the post-traumatic stress disorder. It is an ongoing trauma, layer after layer. So we try through summer camps and other activities, also through peer mediation at schools, to teach them from early beginning how to be a mediator, and anti-bullying and so on. So we work with schools and through the summer camps. And we have big activity usually on Christmas. We say we will not allow the Grinch to steal Christmas. And you can imagine who is the Grinch. So we also work with women. Women, I was raised by my mother. My mother was a single mother after my father died in 1969. I was 6 years old. My younger sister was 3 months old. She mortgaged the house and the land to heal my father. He was a chain smoker. So I am interested in the work of mothers and women, because how much I see my mother provided me with compassion, with empathy, with love. She was our teacher, she was our economist, she was helping, she was a builder, she had a victory garden. And whenever, someone visits, she said, for one of my brothers, go and get them some pomegranate, berries, or thing. And when she cooks, she will not cook for 9 people. She will cook for 11, 12. And one time I was telling her, Mom, I know that we have a lot of debt because of this father sickness, and why you cook like that? She said, we don't know who will show up for lunch or dinner. And when you entertain strangers, you are entertaining angels. So this is my first theology lesson from my mother. She was a woman of faith. She was open to prayers. And that's why I have the World Council of Churches in my home. I have brothers who are Greek Orthodox, Greek Catholic, Roman Catholic, goes to Anglican, Lutheran, Evangelicals, Baptist, born again Christian, and we are as a one family. We have decided to have, diversity in unity, and this is where, and we are continue with the work and the advocacy. This is a bulk of what we do at home. Never be a dull moment. Despite of the situation, we are carrying out our activity on daily level, and we work on Kairos time and not Chronos time, because you don't know when conflicts will erupt, and you need to be there. And one stitch on time saves 9. If you are able to solve a conflict that it is timely, it helps and create better atmosphere.
My brother is a diplomat and he lived in Tel Aviv.
Where?
My brother's a diplomat, lived in Tel Aviv 20 years ago. And because I guess he's a diplomat, I don't know all the details, he was allowed to travel everywhere. He loved Jerusalem, he loved Bethlehem, but he could travel anywhere. And I know you were just talking about how it was so hard for your wife, who's an American, of course my brother is an American, and he was able to travel at ease. That's because he was a diplomat, or it was different 20 years ago?
No. Diplomats have a free access to everyone, except for security. The embassy or the consulate will tell them to go or not to go. But we are not able to travel. I have been traveling here, and many friends take me from place to place. And I say, wow, I don't even know where's my passport. At home, you cannot just get out of your home except to have the ID, And of course, there are differences between people who live in Israel and the West Bank. The Israel people have the right to go anywhere, even inside the West Bank, except nowadays because of the what is happening. The Palestinians are not allowed. I live in Bethlehem. Few miles is Jerusalem. I cannot be there. I need to have a permit. And to have a permit, I need to go through the stations of the cross. And, it is really terrible not having permit. You cannot move freely. Even my kids, when they receive Walt Disney, Pocahontas, Lions King, cassette from relatives here, we didn't receive them. It is against the security. They kept it. And my wife thought, as an American, she could really argue with the post office. She went there to the main post office. Where is my kids? They say, it is not going to give it to you because they are security threat. And she said, what? Lions King? What is it? And at the end, I told her, at that time, I was able to go with her to Jerusalem, to the west side. Say, let us go home. And my wife said to him, I hope that your kids are enjoying these ones. So if I tell you stories, you cannot believe. I give you another story. My wife was pregnant, and she would deliver the baby soon, in 1991. She was working with LWF Augusta Victoria Hospital in Mount of Olives. She is accountant. And there is a doctor there from Ramallah who is helping her through the pregnancy and will help her to deliver. She was due on October 8th. I started to apply for a permit late September. And the Israelis say, come tomorrow, the computer is broken. Because during Jewish holidays, forget about what's going on now, we are not allowed to go anywhere. So I decided to reapply on October 5. And I went to the, Israeli headquarters near our home. This is how you apply for a permit at that time. And I talked, and she said, sorry, we cannot let you. And the captain said, why not to let her change her due date? Unbelievable. So what did I do? I tried to tell her, we have hospitals in Bethlehem. Why not to have the baby here? She said, I don't know the doctors. I am accustomed to that doctor and no one from my family here. So I want really to feel comfortable. I said, okay. So we talked in the family and the neighbors. One friend, Palestinian, who has Israeli yellow license taxi, car. He wants to take us. So we planned a strategy that he will come and take us at 11 o'clock before midnight. My wife and I were sitting on the back seat, sitting in a way that my wife, was showing her belly, and I have more here, and I sat on the back. At that time, there was no enough light. So at 11 o'clock, the soldier come, look with the torch on, and he said, I wish you have a boy, playing on the mentality of Arabs there, to have a boy. And we passed. We went to the hospital. She was happy that we crossed the checkpoint. When she was in the hospital, she began to be in labor. The nurses called the doctor to come. And during curfew, doctors are given permit, some of them. Anyhow, we were waiting. The doctor didn't show up. We was prevented from crossing. Thank heavens, there was a Swiss nurse, Swiss sister, and she was visiting with my wife while she was in the hospital. They built friendship. With the help of with another doctor, resident doctor, my wife delivered the baby. The second time, she decided to go to the States to deliver the baby. So this is really just simple way of life. And no freedom for us at all. There is a matrix of control, controlling every aspect of life. Rather than I talk, maybe more questions to be asked. Yes?
Sure. If you have a perspective on it could be too big an issue, but with the normalization of the relationship between Israel and Saudi Arabia have any effect on the situation in Palestine, do you think? What's your view on it?
Lots of impact. What does mean normalization? It is to have a normal relationship between Israel and Arab countries. And by the way, the term normalization is a curse for Palestinians. But Saudi Arabia made it clear for Israel, we would like to see a Palestinian state, and you are withdrawing from the occupied territories. And now they talk about ceasefire. If this is what want the Saudi Arabia to do, is okay. And I don't think there will be normalization before withdrawal of Israeli. But again, the Arab world has their own interests. The Arab world has their own benefits. Israel, of course, would like to see normalization without withdrawing from the occupied territories, without having a ceasefire. And you know, Saudi Arabia is in a very difficult situation because it is the area where, you know, the main mosque there, and where more Muslims, all Muslims go to pilgrims there. And also, in a way, another patronage of the Dome of the Rock and Al-Aqsa Mosque. Will Saudi Arabia risk that approach and just normalize without any benefit? I have no problem with normalization, but after Israel withdraw from the occupied territories, after we have our own rights, because we want to live in peace with our neighboring countries, including Israel, other Arab countries, and everyone in the area. So I have no problem, but after Israel withdraw from the occupied territories. And when Oslo was, there was agreement to have people to people. Groups from Israel meet with groups from Palestine under the umbrella of United States, or Oslo, the Norwegian government. And there were lots of good things. And we thought Oslo Agreement of 1995 will be a quantum leap that will lead to qualitative leap, but it didn't. And everything collapsed.
Is there any, you know, the American press, you hear of interest in the Israeli community for peace, for disagreement with Vietnam? Is that an accurate perception, that within the Israeli community there are people who are against Netanyahu and his?
Yes, there are different groups in Israel. In the past, in 1982, when Prime Minister Sharon invaded Lebanon, there were at least 500,000 Israelis in the streets of Tel Aviv protesting that. Nowadays, the peace movement in Israel is shrinking. And those who are against Netanyahu in nowadays demonstrations and asking to release the hostages and to have a ceasefire, they are not all in the peace camp, but they want their beloved ones, their people, to be freed. And it is good to see that. So there are different perspectives from the Israeli side. But nowadays, the majority are supporting Netanyahu and the two ministers and the coalition. And this is the scary thing. They move to the right. When Israel was created, yes, it took our land, but there were some secular, liberal, who controlled the government. And some people in the West think they are more left in the sense of not conservative and radicals. Nowadays, Israeli government is the most right-wing government in the whole world. And the same with Palestine. There are different views. And I look at the conflict as clashes of narratives. Clashes of narrative. Not only two narratives, one Israeli and one Palestinian. There are sub-narratives among Israelis, there are sub-narratives among Palestinians. And this is part of human, life.
Nothing's monolith. I mean, I kind of understand that, but I felt a little bit of encouragement when I read some things that would say the Israel, there was some innate growth of desire to end all this craziness.
Yes, I believe for me, although the peace camp in Israel is shrinking, they are a ray of hope. And I like it to be more.
I think I thought that because it seems so beyond, like, oh my gosh, how is going to intervene with this enormously complex situation?
Yes, yeah. Thank you for this observation. Any more questions or answers? We come to you.
So you never got your $20,000 back?
Still sitting in the.
I think,
Israeli government?
let me be positive and think positive about the other side. They will give it to me with interest rate. I don't know. It is there. And it came at the time when I have it 6 years ago. And it came at the time when I have most of my children at the university, when we have a wedding, when we, so, but this is the price we pay. Other people paid their lives, other people paid their demolishing houses, their land confiscation. We have all of that. So either take it or leave it. And we decide to continue to be resilient and to be empowered by your empathy, by your steadfastness, by your compassion, and to go in this less traveled road. Oh, sorry.
So that, in this country, there's a division on how Iran should be treated, the relationship with Iran, and whether or not. So if you think of the maximum oversimplification is sanctioned down to the nothing, and the other side is, let's trust and get along and so forth. Do you have a perspective on which would be best, or do you want to comment on it? And which one would influence the peaceful process, the possible peaceful process in Palestine?
About Iran.
Yes. Which way is that?
This is really love and hate politics in the Middle East, not only among the states in the Middle East, but also, you remember during the Gulf War, and there is support of Iran from here. And also there is support of Iraq. And I think at one time I thought that America would like to have double containing policy, to contain Iran and others. And it was probably more successful. But as a result of what's going on, there is axis, between brackets, of resistance, resembled from Iran, Hezbollah, Syria, Iraq, and other countries. And seeing that Iran is in support of all of these movements. And the late news when Israel assassinated the top man of Hamas, Ismail Haniyeh, in Tehran, create more wedge, and Iran threatened to shower Israel with rockets. Up till this moment, not. And we hope that, again, to see a deal with all the countries, including Israel, and to have jumpstart a new peace process. It is wishful thinking at this moment, because Israel is interested in pushing Hezbollah to the north of Litani River, and Israel is interested in the water in Lebanon from the Litani River. Israel is interested in liquidating not only the resistance, but liquidating the Palestinian from Gaza and West Bank, and attack Syria, and create mutiny, and to support ISIS, and to create an unstable situation. I don't know. Iran will not fight for our sake, and we don't want whatever is Iran doing is not helping us, because many of the resistance in the West Bank, some people are happy with it, that comes from Iran, but Israel is taking justifications in these people who resist and create havoc on us. Well, we have two. Is that okay?
If there was one or two or three suggestions you had for people to do or to think or to take action, what would you say?
Thank you. I believe what are you doing as Presbyterian Church and individuals and groups are the right thing for me. I'm glad that I see more Presbyterians coming and others, maybe if there are other people from different churches. Come and see, observe, and act. Second, some people go for PDS, boycott, divestment, and sanctions. Or some will go to morally investment with Palestinians. Okay, but at this moment, I hope our voices to be loud to call for a ceasefire immediately. And ceasefire not only for tomorrow and release the prisoners and hostages, but to have always a ceasefire that lead to jump start of the peace process. I believe one thing, yes, your support for a just cause to be continued, your relationship with the living stones, the Christians who are endangered species, to be continued, and your awareness campaigns among the churches and whatever you do here in vigils or prayers or any conferences to really impact the foreign policy towards us and to be having even-handed policy in the Middle East. And many of you, let me say that I am appreciative and thankful for the partnership that I have with the Presbyterian Church to empower some of these projects that we are doing. And we appreciate to continue investment more in this relationship and to empower us in the less traveled walk and talk.
I had exactly the question. Yeah. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
I think Zoughbi will be up here to maybe answer some more questions or just to have some more conversation. There's a couple of little handouts I think that will be helpful just to kind of see how the incursion has happened over time, what the state used to look like, what the states look like now, all those kinds of things. And I didn't say I was going to do this, but I'm going to do it. If you're just starting out in this, if this is one of your first, forays into kind of wrapping your head around what this region of the world is like, what some of the stories are. We've heard some of the amazing story here tonight that's been shared, here this morning that's been shared with us. I'm going to recommend this book also called Blood Brothers. It came out a while ago, but it has several different iterations, different covers. It's been printed a couple times, but it is also a good place to go and to start to see what the story is. Very peaceful story. It's a story of Elias Shakur, who is now a Melkite priest still in Palestine, and who has been also focused on bringing peace and equity to all people that are there. So another good place to go. So thanks again. Thank you for being here.
Thank you. Thank you.